Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the security spot. Yeah, sorry for another late news roundup, but here we are. And also, really quickly, I'd like to apologize for not getting last week's Framework Fridays episode out. The way I do these episodes, for Framework Fridays especially, is that I try to pre-record it sometime earlier in the week because on Fridays I'm working the whole day. So I try to pre-record it, then set it to upload like absurdly early on a Friday. But last week I just didn't have the time to do that. This week it should be better. Thank you all so much for your patience, and let's get started. First one, Samsung fixes critical zero-day vulnerability exploited in Android attacks. Samsung has released its monthly security updates for Android, including a fix for a security vulnerability that it said has been exploited in zero-day attacks. And this vulnerability is about an out-of-bounds write that could result in arbitrary code execution. So, what I understand is that this vulnerability could possibly allow, it allows remote attackers to execute code, and that code could potentially be malware. We've seen in other stories where certain files manage to execute other files that are loaded with malware. Anyways, out of bounds write in Libid Mage code code C dot QRAM.so prior to this new update allows remote attackers to execute arbitrary code, and this patch corrected this. According to a 2020 report from Google Project Zero, this is a closed source image parsing library developed by QRamSoft, I hope I'm saying that right, that implements support for various image formats. The critical rated issue, per the South Korean electronics giant, affects Android versions 13, 14, 15, and 16. This vulnerability was privately disclosed to the company on August 13th, 2025. Samsung didn't share any specifics on how the vulnerability is being exploited in attacks and who may be behind these efforts, but acknowledged that an exploit for this issue has existed in the wild. So, from what I can tell is that either it hasn't been used or it's been used in very minor attacks, and they've privately discussed it with the affected parties, but it hasn't been very widespread. And this development comes shortly after, we covered this. Google said it resolved 2 security flaws that it said were exploited in targeted attacks. Alright, that was a quick article. Let's hope we can keep this train going. Second one, AI-powered villager pen testing tool hits 11,000 Python downloads amid abuse concerns. This new AI-powered pen testing tool linked to a China-based company has attracted nearly $11,000 on the Python package index repository, raising concerns that it could be repurposed by cybercriminals for malicious purposes. I'm pretty sure we covered something like this a while back. Anyways, it's called Villager. The framework is assessed to be the work of Cybersecurity, which has positioned the tools as a red teaming solution to automate testing workflows. The package was first uploaded to Python Package Index in late July 2025 by user named StupidFish001, a former CTF player for the Chinese SEC team. The rapid public availability and automation capabilities create a realistic risk that Villager will follow the Cobalt Strike trajectory. Yeah, that's the one we covered, Cobalt Strike. Commercially or legitimately developed tooling becoming widely adopted by threat actors for malicious campaigns. These researchers, Dan Regalado and Amanda Russo, said in a report shared with the Hacker News. The emergence of Villager comes shortly after Checkpoint revealed that threat actors are attempting to leverage another nation AI-assisted offensive security tool called Hexstrike AI. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure we covered that one. To exploit recently disclosed security flaws. With the advent of Gen AI models, threat actors have capitalized on the technology for social engineering. We made a video on this, by the way, basically showing how ChatGPT can make all those phishing letters look legitimate and not have any of the spelling errors you're used to. But anyways, for social engineering, technical, and information operations in ways that have likely contributed to increased speed, access to expertise, and scalability. One key advantage to relying on such tools is that they lower the barrier to exploitation and cut short the amount of time and effort required to pull off such attacks. What once required highly skilled operators and weeks of manual development can be automated using AI, offering bad actors assistance with crafting exploits, payload delivery, and even infrastructure setup. Exploitation can be parallelized at scale, with agents scanning thousands of IPs simultaneously, Checkpoint noted recently. Decision-making becomes adaptive. Failed exploit attempts can be automatically retried with variations until successful, increasing the overall exploitation yield. The fact that Villager is available as an off-the-shelf Python package means it offers attackers an easy way to integrate the tool into their workflows, Stryker noted, describing it as a concerning evolution in AI-driven attack tooling. Cyberspike first appeared in November 2023 when the domain cyberspike.top was registered under I'm not gonna bother trying to pronounce this. An AI company supposedly based in China. That said, the only source of information about what the company does comes from a Chinese talent service platform called Lipin, raising questions about who is behind it. Snapshots of a domain captured on the Internet Archive reveal that the tool is marketed as a network attack simulation and post-penetration test tool to help organizations evaluate and strengthen their cybersecurity posture. Once installed, Cyberspike has been found to incorporate plugins that are components of a remote access tool, or RAT, enabling invasive victim surveillance and control using remote desktop access, Discord account compromise, keystroke logging, webcam hijacking, and other monitoring functions. Further analysis has uncovered similarities with a known rat called Async Rat. Cyberspike integrated Async Rat into its red teaming product with additional plugins to well-known hack tools like Mimikatz as well. These integrations demonstrate how Cyberspike repackaged established hack tools and offensive tools into a turnkey framework designed for penetration testing and probably malicious operations. Villager appears to be the latest offering from Cyberspike, operating as a Model Context Protocol or MCP client. Shout out to every Tron fan, by the way. Or Kingdom Hearts fan, because you can be a Kingdom Hearts fan, but not a Tron fan, and know what I'm talking about. It integrates with Kali Linux toolsets, LangChain, and DeepSeek's AI models to automate testing workflows, handle browser-based interactions, and issue commands in natural language that can then be converted into their technical equivalents. Besides leveraging a database of 4,201 AI system prompts to generate exploits and make real-time decisions in penetration testing, the AI native penetration testing framework automatically creates isolated Kali Linux containers for network scanning, vulnerability assessment, and pen testing, and destroys them after a period of 24 hours, effectively covering up traces of the activity. The ephemeral nature of these containers, combined with randomized SSH ports, makes AI-powered attack containers difficult to detect, complicating forensic analysis and threat attribution, the researchers noted. C2 is accomplished by means of a fast API interface that processes incoming tasks, while the Python-based pedantic AI agent platform is used to standardize outputs. Villager reduces skill and time required to run sophisticated offensive tool chains, enabling less skilled actors to perform more advanced intrusions, the researchers said. Its task-based architecture, where AI dynamically orchestrates tools based on objectives rather than following rigid attack patterns, marks a fundamental shift in how cyber attacks are occurred. We've been having a lot of fundamental shifts very recently in cybersecurity, and all ties back to AI. Increased frequency and speed of automated reconnaissance, exploitation attempts, and follow-on activity could raise detection response burdens across the entire enterprise. Alright, last article. New hybrid Petya ransomware bypasses UEFI secure boot with a 2024 exploit. And what you're seeing here is the ransomware message. You see this text, and your files are no longer accessible because they've been encrypted. Perhaps you are busy looking for a way to recover your files, but don't waste your time. Nobody can recover your files without our decryption service. We guarantee that you can recover all your files safely and easily. All you need to do is submit the payment and purchase the decryption key. Yeah, generally don't pay the ransom, but there have been times in history where the ransom has had to have been paid. But by and large, the security policy is to not pay the ransom to these people. Anyways, cybersecurity researchers have discovered a new ransomware strain dubbed Hybrid Petya that resembles the notorious Petya/not Petya malware. If you want to hear about Petya or not Petya, I can certainly make videos on that, but there's also a really good Darknet Diaries episode on it. I can't remember which one it is, but Darknet Diaries overall is good. Anyways, while also incorporating the ability to bypass the secure boot mechanism in Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, or UEFI systems, using a now-patched vulnerability disclosed earlier this year. Slovakian cybersecurity company ESET said the samples were uploaded to the VirusTotal platform in February 2025. Hybrid Petya encrypts the master file table, which contains important metadata about all the files on NTFS format partitions, security researcher Martin said. Unlike the original Petya or not Petya, Hybrid Petya can compromise modern UEFI-based systems by installing a malicious EFI application onto the EFI system partition. In other words, the deployed UEFI application is the central component that takes care of encrypting the MFT file, which contains metadata related to all the files on the NTFS format partition. Hybrid Petya comes with two main components, a bootkit and an installer, with the former appearing in two distinct versions. The bootkit, which is deployed by the installer, is chiefly responsible for loading its configuration and checking its encryption status. It can have three different values: 0 ready for encryption, 1 already encrypted, and 2 ransom paid decrypted. Should the value be set to 0, it proceeds to set the flag to 1 and encrypts the EFI Microsoft boot verify file with the Salsa 20 encryption algorithm using the key and nonce specified in the configuration. It also creates a file called EFI Microsoft boot counter on the EFI system partition prior to launching the disk encryption process of all NTFS format partitions. The file is used to keep track of the already encrypted disk clusters. Furthermore, the bootkit updates the fake check desk message displayed on the victim screen with information about the current encryption status, while the victim is deceived into thinking that the system is repairing disk errors. If the bootkit detects that the disk is already encrypted or the file is set to 0, it'll just serve a ransom note to the victim, demanding them to be sent $1,000 in Bitcoin to their wallet address. The wallet is currently empty, but between May and February 2025, or I guess February and May 2025, it's gotten $183.32. The ransom note screen also provides an option for the victim to enter the decryption key purchased from the operator after making the payment, following which the bootkit verifies the key and attempts to decrypt the EFI Microsoft Boot Verify file. In the event the correct key is entered, the flag value is set to 2 and kicks off the decryption step by reading the contents of EFI Microsoft Boot counter file, or of the file. The decryption stops when the number of decrypted clusters is equal to the value from the counter file. During the process of MFT decryption, the bootkit shows the current decryption process status. Sorry, I'm like half asleep in this video if you couldn't tell. We're almost done though. This is going to be one of the shorter ones I've done, thankfully. The decryption phase also involves the bootkit recovering the legit bootloaders, EFI bootx64.efi and EFI Microsoft boot mgfw.efi from the backups previously created during the installation process. Once the system is completed, the victim is prompted to reboot their Windows machine. It's worth noting that bootloader changes initiated by the installer during the deployment of the UEFI bootkit component triggers a system crash or a blue screen of death, or BSOD. I've never heard anybody call it that, but here it is, BSOD, and ensures that the bootkit binary is executed once the device is turned on. Select variants of hybrid Petya ESET added have been found to exploit this vulnerability. A remote code execution vulnerability in the Halyar Reloader UEFI application, or reloader.efi, renamed in the artifact as EFI Microsoft boot mgfw.efi, that could result in a secure boot bypass. The variant also packs in a specially crafted file named coke.dat, which is loadable through reloader.efi and contains the XORed bootkit binary. Microsoft has since revoked the old vulnerable binary as part of its Patch Tuesday update for January 2025. When the reloader EFI binary deployed as boot mgfw EFI is executed during boot, it searches for the presence of the cloak.dat file on the EFI system partition and loads the embedded UEFI application from the file in a very unsafe way, completely ignoring any integrity checks, thus bypassing UEFI secure boot, ESET said. Another aspect where hybrid Petya and not Petya differ is that unlike the latter's destructive capabilities, the newly identified artifact allows the threat actors to reconstruct the decryption key from the victim's personal installation keys. Telemetry data from ESET indicates no evidence of hybrid Petya being used in the wild. The cybersecurity company also pointed out the recent discovery of a UEFI Petya proof of concept by security researcher Alexandra, I'm not going to say the rest of that name, adding, "It's possible that there could be some relationship between the two cases. However, it doesn't rule out the possibility that hybrid Petya may also be a proof of concept." Hybrid Petya is at least the fourth publicly known example of a real or proof of concept UEFI bootkit with UEFI secure boot bypass functionality joining Black Lotus, Bootkitty, and the Hyper-V backdoor proof of concept. I faintly remember covering Black Lotus on this channel. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. This shows that secure boot bypasses are just not just possible, they are becoming more common and attractive to both researchers and attackers. UEFI, successor to the BIOS or basic input-output system, is a lucrative target for attackers. Because UEFI runs before a machine's operating system on startup, malware capable of infecting the boot process allows it to bypass traditional security software, execute malicious code with high-level privileges, and make it extremely stealthy and resilient to removal. The discovery of hybrid Petya comes as security researcher FFRI Security Kazuki Matsuo detailed a technique called Shade BIOS that allows malware to operate completely independent from operating system level security and perform nefarious actions without hardware dependence at runtime. It has been described as a pure BIOS malware that retains BIOS in memory even after OS boot, allowing UEFI functionality and the use of drivers during runtime, which gives it the power to subvert every single type of cybersecurity protection. Well, that's lovely to hear. Really. Shade BIOS disassociates UEFI malware from OS level security, Matsuo said in a Black Hat 2025 presentation last month, and that it doesn't need to know what device the target is using, or implement all driver stack or access I/O directly. And on that grim note, we're done. Sorry again for the late episode, but hope you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, especially comment. I don't get many comments, and I really like comments. I want to know what you guys are thinking, what you want to see more of, all of that. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. That's going to do it for this one. And yeah, I appreciate you all. This has been the Security Spot.